In 10 seconds we start making an oval box with a screw thread lid. Hello and welcome. A good friend of mine is the Dutch king of thread chasing, and he also made a jig where you can make oval boxes with an oval shape. And every time he posted something like that on Facebook or Instagram, his name by the way is Jan Hovens, and every time he posted something like that, there was a Swiss guy responding with, "Oh, next time you make an oval box with a screw thread." You can't, of course. So I thought, let's make an oval box with a lid with a screw thread. And to disappoint you straight away, it looks like this. But maybe not in the way you've seen screw threads before. And you won't believe this, but it all starts with a block of wood. And we determine more or less the center. And we put it between centers. Where's the point? There's the point. There's no point. Off we go. And we make it sort of round, but the first thing we do is we make these two surfaces. So we make it round like this, these two. Cool. There we go. Oh, way too big. Okay, it's elm by the way. I'll give it one more pass. And now we're going to make it oval in shape. You see me using a safe center over here. It's a point and a pressure ring. I use that instead of this normal, what we most of the time use, of course, a 4-prong drive center. And the pro of that is that I can, if I want to, I can put it in like this, but I can also take it out and put it the other way around, because the same type of center is on this side. And the other thing is, I'm going to remount it in the lathe a few times, so it's easy if it falls back automatically in the same position. But as you know, it doesn't have that much drive power, so I have to be a little bit more well, I can't make any very heavy cuts. So let's put it in here. And we put a line perfectly horizontally. Take it out. And now we can put a line from here through the center to the other side. I use an awl now because there's paraffin on the end grain side of the block of wood. So, maybe you think, why doing it so in such a difficult way? Well, because I want to know, now I come to make my center points over here, and they have to be in line, of course, the same as this one. Now, let's see how oval in shape we want to be. There's one. Same on the other side. So this is the shape going to be. Put it between centers again, but now we are off center, of course.
Adorable.
I'm pretty close already. So for a little trick over here, if you get your tool rest parallel to the bedways. So just put it close to the wood and look over your tool rest to the bedways and make sure it is parallel. Over here I'm just a little bit further away from the line than on this side. So 1 or 2 cuts will do. You can also see over here, this line is not straight. So I have to take a bit more off here than off here. You can see now that the line, my cutting line runs like this. And it should be a straight line when I'm finished. So also here you can see that I have to take here more. Here I'm almost there, but here I have to take a little bit more off. Well, that was very good English. Let's do it again. Okay, I'm not going to sand it now. If you don't have a very nice surface, you could say I'll start sanding now already also. But it's a good surface, so I will just sand it by hand later. We're going to move over to the other 2 center points and do the same thing again. One tiny last pass. Cool. So now we have 4 surfaces and I need to blend these together. Let me first put my piece back in the center position. Makes working a little bit easier. And take the corners off. The sandpaper will take care of the rest. 180 grit. Look at that. Oop,
Nice.
almost there. And there's our oval shape already. Next thing is make a tenon on it so that I can put the whole thing in the chuck. There we go. Get a chuck, put it in. And now I want this center point just to be sure exactly in the middle while I clamp it. So, okay. And we drill a hole. I can go a little bit deeper. If you drill on the lathe, it's all the same things are important as in real life. It's important that you draw back in time. Because otherwise it might get stuck here and you can't get your drill out anymore. That's it. This leaves a pretty rough surface, of course, so we'll clean that up in a minute. Well, we have our hole now and we're going to make it a little bit bigger later on. First I want to make these 2 spots, get them over here. So what I'll do is basically use the scraper and slowly make this circle wider until these 2, well, they're left over, so to say. You see, if I make the circle wider, at the end, we'll leave some over here. We're almost there. You see there's a very thin line left. Take that out and give it a flat surface here. Bit of scraping and end grain. I think that's it. There's our hole and there's our hole. Great, good, very good. Let's make the inside over here better. Basically do that in the same way, only with a little bit heavier scraper. Same thing actually. There we go. Good. Okay, let's sand the inside then. Here's a round stick with some Velcro that I use for the sanding on the inside. Time to get a screw thread in here and time to finish these surfaces on top with this same scraper, little scrapertje, little scrapertje, little scraper, speed. I don't worry about this tear out here, because at the end I will take it out. I will take it away. It's time to make a screw thread in here, and a screw thread ends with a nut, and therefore I first will make a little groove at the in the end. Way too many of these chisels tools. before I get questions. That's all. It's just scraping in this tip. Simon Hope's threading jig. So there we're going to make the thread, and this is the cutter that makes the thread. I will do that on maximum speed, so which means I choose for maximum speed on the pulleys. And I see I used it on another lathe. What is important with when you're using this jig is that you mount it on center height. Over there. And to make sure you don't lose that height while you're going, there's a ring. Also, when you make these thread, make sure that the cutter and your workpiece are both in opposite directions. So if this one is spinning clockwise, this one spins anti-clockwise, or the other way around. And finally, we have to make sure that this whole thing runs parallel on the bedways again, because if I move it, it has to go in a straight line and not in that direction. It's not any good for the thread. Full speed. That's the end already. Now I will move the whole jig a little bit towards me and do the whole thing again. There we go. That was it. Move this thing towards me again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. You see, elm is pretty open wood, so this might be a lot of tear out. What you could do now is have some CA glue in here to keep it more together, to have less tear out. But let's see what happens. That's it. Take this one off. Take the chuck out. We do a little bit of sanding on the rough edges here. And now I'm going to take off these very thin parts here, because of course they only will break out. Let me get a very fine saw to do so. Well, now you have seen why you can't do this with thread chasers. You definitely need a router bit to get your screw thread in. And we put this aside now and we go work on the lid. I have a piece of Wenge here. So that is sort of black to give it a little bit of contrast with the elm over there. I think that's a nice combination. So first we have to get it round and make a screw thread. Here's a little spike plate. Because it's pretty thin, I can't lose that much. And press it against it. This piece is 100 millimeters. And over here, let's have a look. This is 95.
Okay.
So that's the inside of the screw thread. So let's say we have to be 97, 98 to on the outside of the screw thread on this piece. But before we make a screw thread, first we have to make it round. If I look at the dust, there's some animals living in the wood. So now this is safe in the chuck. I'm going to make a tenon on it. Good. Bit of sanding and then the underside of my lid is finished. So if I sand this nice and smooth, I can turn it around again in the chuck and then make the screw thread. just taking the corners off so that I can make a better start with the threading jig. And having said that, this is Wenge, so it's not the most, it's not it's not the best wood to choose if you want to cut threads. But well, we'll see what happens. It's very likely to tear out. Ready to start making threads again. I know now that the diameter of this piece is a little bit wider than it is over here, so that the threads will grab into each other. So maximum speed and make the first groove. I don't want to take too much in one go, because like I said, it is Wenge. Wenge is famous for its tear outs while turning or routing or anything like that. So we'll just do it slowly. So I don't think it'll fit yet, but you never can tell, so let's just try to be sure for. Well, like I said, it's not the first time that I'm. That's perfect. In only 2 cuts. Incredible. Really incredible.
That's a good sound.
Yep, definitely is. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I can assure you it doesn't go it doesn't always go that easy. Very good. Let's check, because this is end grain, this is side grain. Let's check for, because I need a little bit of play. That's okay. There's enough play. Well, it fits. What would have been nicer now if I had made the shape thinner over here. I thought in the beginning, leave it a bit wider, but now it actually is. I think now I should have left it thinner on the on the narrow side, because then I could have taken more off the lid here. Because the idea now is that I take the screw thread away over here, so that I only have to make a quarter turn and then I can take it out. That was the idea actually. So let's do that first. And I just sand it away. It's not much, so I just sand it away. Lots of people asking about my what I use for sanding, but it is a angled drill. So it's not a flex or something like that. It's an angled drill. Anyway. We're ready now to make a nice shape on this end. If I start turning here, this lid gets tighter and tighter pressed into the other screw threads. So just to be sure, I will take it out and do the first part in another chuckie. Scraping it flat. Sanding it. And now scrape the last part. And now, of course, there is a little chance that I can't get it open anymore because I don't have that much grip on the lid. So what you can do then is make two little handles on the side. But Off. So let's think of how we can do that. It's a piece of ebony. Maybe it's a maybe it's a bit too luxury, too much luxury to have a jam chuck you out of ebony. But I won't take off that much. Whoa. Make sure now this is flat. No, don't make the mistake that you think, oh, I got to have a little bit, I got to have the bottom a little bit of concave so that it doesn't wobble on the table. But in this case, because it is oval in shape, it has to be flat. So make it a little bit thinner. Very nice. Bit of sanding. Let's get some oil on here and get these out. And the thinner is turpentine, but the natural one. So you see, Heinz, it is possible. Oval box, screw thread lid. Hope you like it and see you next time.